last Super Bowl win. Yes, 25. Just last month, Jerry Jones again said, quote, "Do you have any idea how much I'd write a check for if I knew for sure I could get that Lombardi trophy?" Dallas currently has the 11th best odds to win next year's Super Bowl, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. He has said it before, Shannon. Is Jerry most responsible for the lack of Super Bowls in the past 25 years?
Yes. He's the only constant. He's the common denominator. They've had different players. They've had different coaches. They've had a lot of different people. But the one constant is him. And therein lies the problem. Jerry Jones thinks his money can buy him a Super Bowl. He's looking for big names, Skip. Listen, when I look at the Cowboys over the last quarter century, the Cowboys are the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns with better uniforms and a larger fan base. That's what they are. Now, I wish I could tell you something different, but it's Jerry's fault because you know...
No, you don't.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
Okay, you're right. You got me, Skip. Damn, you caught me in a lie again.
Yep.
Skip, here's the problem, though, is that Jerry has been around. In the beginning, when Jerry first got this thing in the first 5 or 6 years, Skip, they had 3 Super Bowls. So when Jerry comes out and he says year after year, this team is as talented as those Super Bowl teams, he sets the expectations because everybody said, well, hold on. If they're just that talented, those teams won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years.
Yep.
So we Gucci. And then all of a sudden, you miss the playoffs. You win 5 games. You go 7-9. You go 8-8. They go, hold on, wait a minute, Jerry. You said those teams are just as talented. Well, those teams never went 5-11. They never went 7-9 or 8-8. He sets the expectation, the unrealistic expectation so high that they're never going to be met. He always wants to be front and center. He's like, well, if I pay the most money for this one, and that's normally how it happens, Skip. You know, I bet if you go to Jerry's house, he has the most expensive curtains. He has the most expensive chandelier, the most expensive marble. That's fine.
I've been there, seen all that. Yep.
You go to Jerry World, they got the most expensive stuff in that stadium. That's fine.
Yep.
But it doesn't necessarily equate when you're trying to build a team that, okay, if I pay the most money for a quarterback, a running back, wide receiver, offensive line, this, it doesn't necessarily work like that. Coach Belichick proved it. Hell, he wasn't paying anybody. And they were winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl, Skip. So, yes, I'm placing this at the feet of Jerry Jones. He's the problem. And until that's resolved, which I don't see in the very foreseeable future, hope he live another 100 years. And that means for another 25 years, they won't be in the Super Bowl. I love it.
You love it.
I do.
So, I'll give Jerry only this. Over his many years of owning and operating the Dallas Cowboys, he has always kept them interesting, often for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
We talk about the Cowboys nearly every day on this show because it's always something with that guy, Jerry Jones, because he's always saying something that offends you or often offends me. And yet, he is the constant. And as he said the other day, I think it's on his radio show, when you work for yourself, there's no firing him as in you, right?
Yeah.
Okay? You just got to change. He's got to change. He's talking in the third person about himself. And I will change. I can change. I'm not saying which way I'll change.
Exactly.
But I will change.
So what?
But will you change your duties or your responsibility? No. So then we get the classic quote we've heard 100 times. I would write any check, which I believe you would.
Yes.
I'd write any check to win a Super Bowl. Well, unfortunately, there's a thing called the salary cap, so that excludes you writing a check to go win the Super Bowl.
Skip, this is not an auto show. This is not a car show where you go bid the highest money, you get the car.
No.
You go get to write a big check and win to get the Super Bowl.
And the problem here is Jerry Jones will not pay with his own job, because if he would pay by sacrificing himself, I think they might have somebody. If he would go out and hire the best man available to be the brains of the football operation and to keep a distance from the players, as in oversee from above, with objectivity and distance, instead of Jerry wanting to rub elbows with all the players. Some call it jock sniffing. He did play football. It's not like he's just a crazy fan. He did play. He was a starting guard for a national championship team at Arkansas. But he likes to rub elbows with his stars. He likes to have them over for dinner. He likes to socialize with them occasionally. He loved him some Tony Romo. He's trying to get close to Dak, but Dak just said no, sorry. But he loves him some Zeke, and he overpaid Zeke. And then Jalen Smith, he loves him, and he overpaid him. And D-Law and Amari, he just glows about them. He speaks in poetry about them, and he overpaid every one of them. And now we'll see what happens with Dak. But the problem is he had one dynamo coach, and it was his quote-unquote best friend from Arkansas, who really wasn't his best friend from his days as a Razorback. No. But Jimmy was a dynamo. And they actually worked great together. But it was finite, and it wasn't going to last.
Right.
Because Jimmy wanted all the credit, Jerry wanted some, and Jerry was never going to let Jimmy get away with consistently belittling him in front of staffers.
Yeah, exactly.
He's too proud. And he fired him after 2 Super Bowls.
Back to back.
Okay. Yeah.
With that young team, you got to Skip, we're talking about Emmett and Troy. You're talking about 3 guys. Michael might have been 27. Yep. Emmett was probably 25, 26. Yep. Troy, 25, 26. So we're talking about they're around the age, slightly older than Patrick Mahomes, and they had won 2 Super Bowls. And Jerry fired him. Jerry bought let's say Jerry bought the Cowboys. It fluctuates. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say on the high end, he paid 150. I've heard as low as 120, as high as 150. Let's just say by the time he won the 3rd Super Bowl in 95, they were worth $300 million. He's worth $300. Jerry Jones worth $8 billion. See, there's been no fallout. His value has increased, even though his teams have been terrible.
Yeah.
So what? So Skip,
if you hit him in his pocketbook where he lives, then he would change.
Yes.
But he has no reason to change because they just get bigger and bigger.
The value of his team is just increased. It's going through the roof.
It's the most valuable team in the entire world.
So Skip, what's the drawback? Okay, I'm not winning Super Bowls, but my team is more valuable, about $1 billion more than the Patriots. Okay. They won 6 of the last 15. So
it's far more valuable.
Yes. So what's the downside from doing it my way?
Okay. He does it his way because it's so much fun.
Yes.
To be the owner and the operator.
Yes.
So what did he do? He did say 500 coaches could win a Super Bowl with this team, and he picked the 501st coach, who was Barry Switzer, and they did. It took 2 years, but they won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Way to go. But then after that, he started picking puppet coaches, and he picked a whole bunch of them until he finally said, okay, I give up. I picked Bill Parcells. But Jerry didn't fire himself from GM, and he finally ran off Bill Parcells because Jerry wanted T.O. He wanted box office, and Parcells wanted nothing to do with Terrell Owens. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And that was their falling out point. So they went 10-6 the first year under Parcells, then 9-7 and 9-7. It didn't work because Jerry was right in the middle of it. And then we went to Jason Garrett, and it was 8-8 and 8 and 8 and 8 and 8, and he became like a son to Jerry until he finally said, okay, I got to give this up, and I'll go hire, a made man, Mike McCarthy. And I have no idea what happened last year because Mike McCarthy was unimpressive to me. And I already conceded to you, you might be right. He might have been a product of Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre in Green Bay.
When you look at the thing that Jimmy did, there was separation between church and state.
A little bit. A little. Enough.
Could you imagine a player going behind Jimmy's back and telling Jerry that something Jimmy's doing, and then Jerry bringing that to Jimmy?
No. There was that separation.
Yes, that's what I mean. So now, if a player has a problem with a coach, he just go right upstairs to Jerry and talk to Jerry.
I agree. Yeah.
You can't have that, Skip. Okay. You take all the coach's power.
So right now, and for many years in this league, there have only been 2 owners who operated as the GM, and the other is Mike Brown in Cincinnati. But Mike Brown is the son of one of the greatest coaches / GMs in the history of this league, Paul Brown, the great Paul Brown.
He grew up around football. I mean, that's the only thing he ever knew.
I got it.
He don't know anything else but the Browns.
Mike Brown, not known for spending huge money.
No, he didn't spend no money.
He took over in 1991. Since then, Cincinnati is 0-7 in the playoffs.
Right.
0-7 in the playoffs. Yeah. Okay, so what does he have to show for his ownership / GM-ship, right?
Skip, but we expect that from Cincinnati.
Okay.
You don't expect that from the Cowboys. I mean, but you think about the Cowboys. The Cowboys 4-10
in
the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. Since that
time.
Yes. Okay.
Skip, that's 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 not good. Skip.
If you told me 25 years ago that the Dallas Cowboys wouldn't even play in an NFC championship game in the next 25 years, I would have laughed in your face. But they have not. And in fact, they haven't even come close.
Anybody that was around football in the 90s will tell you, had Jimmy stayed in Dallas, they were going to be the Patriots before the Patriots became the Patriots. Mm-hmm. That's what he was. Skip, people don't realize how good the Cowboys were.
Is Robert Kraft the GM of the Patriots? No.
Okay, you're right. You got me, Skip. Damn, you caught me in a lie again.
Yep.
Skip, here's the problem, though, is that Jerry has been around. In the beginning, when Jerry first got this thing in the first 5 or 6 years, Skip, they had 3 Super Bowls.